Today we're going to talk about all things brow. I have had to take over my brow care over the last year because obviously we can't get out to have it done, and so that's been a bit challenging. I've had to relearn how to take care of my brows. I handed that off when I was about 47. I started to lose my eyesight and had to rely on glasses, and I decided, it's time to let someone else take care of this. And I had really good luck. I found a great brow stylist and she did a perfect job, but this last year has been a little different, and so I've had to learn a whole new skill set. So we're going to tint my brows, we're going to shape my brows. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I grew in my brows, what product I'm using to grow them in, and then how to tweeze out the stray ones without losing the shape of your brow. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, then stay tuned and we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to go wash up, get all my makeup off. So all cleaned up and ready to go for my brow tinting and brow shaping. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, before we start, how I've been able to keep the density and the growth of my brow over the years. I had pretty sparse brows and they had lots of hollow spots. And so I decided to talk to my provider, and I was prescribed by Microneedling for my lash growth, and also it was recommended by my provider and okay with them. I cleared all of my medical history with them, and they recommended using a small amount on my brow to regrow the sparse pockets of my brow. So what you can expect if you decide to go this route, I'm not recommending it, I'm not proposing it, I'm just saying it's an option and it's something you might want to talk to your provider about, because it is a prescription. By Microneedling and Latisse are both prescriptions, but they are more and more being used for an off-label use to grow brows back. And so that's what I've done over the years. Now, when I first started doing this, about 2016, I was using it twice a day, and my brows got longer, fuller, but also quite a bit darker. Actually a shade that was a little bit too dark for my skin complexion. So I had to kind of scale back, and I only use what's the remainder after I apply my Latisse for my lash in the corners first and then in the center. I use what's left on the brush and spot apply to my brow each side. So that way I'm not getting too much of the solution. I also do not use the brush that comes with the by Microneedling or the Latisse packaging. It applies too much product to the bristle and it ends up dripping, and it's just a mess. I think they really need to rethink that. But just the amount that's left on the brush after I apply for my lash line is more than enough to keep my brows full. Now, as I was saying, really didn't even need a tint. It was just a little bit of shaping and I was on my way. But as the years have gone on, I have less melanin production in all my hair, including my brows, and they look a little sparse. Even though I can get the hair growth going, they look a little sparse because they need a bit of a tint. So that's why I've been tinting my brows myself for a while, and I started with the Godfrey product, but it really gets my brow way too dark for my sort of light complexion and lighter hair now. It just is a little bit too shocking. I think a more subtle result is what I'm really looking for. So I'm going to be trying the Just for Men, the beard formula. It has been sort of all over the internet and all over YouTube, but I think despite the fact that it is a product for men, I think it's a great product for women. There's some beautiful results out there. I'm going to give it a try myself, and I haven't been able to get to my brow specialist in a long time, so I think I'm going to have some great results. I'm just going to show you how to mix the colorant up. So as you can see, it comes with a little tray, and then you have both the color base and the color developer, and I'm just going to use a pea-sized amount of each of these products. I've cleaned all my spoolie and my tweezers and my shaping shears, and I have a few cotton rounds ready to go for a little bit later on in the process. So I'm just going to, as I said, put a small pea-sized amount, it's more than enough, of each of the product, and then mix it up with the spoolie. So that's all you need, pea-sized product of both. And as you can see, it's not a runny formula at all. It's going to be a thick gel-like consistency. And I'm just going to stir it up with the spoolie to activate the colorant. As you can see, I made my spoolie a little bit on the rounded side. I like that for application purposes. And I'll use the edge to wipe off any excess. Okay, so let's get to the application. I've got my formula all mixed up and ready to go, but I wanted to show you I used 2 little cotton rounds, one for wiping off the product once it's developed. I have a little bit of water set aside here so that I can remove it. And the other one I'm going to use as a little shield while I apply the product. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that now. I just use my curved spoolie. I'm going to protect my eye. And I apply right from the center all the way out to the tail. And I do a little scrub back and forth motion to make sure I get it in all the bristles, my bristly brows. Okay, and I'm going to switch to the other side, grab a little more product. And apply as so. Now I find this product doesn't take too long to develop for my hair. Your length of development might be a little bit different depending on the density of your hair and also if you have stubborn gray hairs. But my hair tends to take to color pretty well. So I think that's quite saturated. I'm going to let that sit for a little while and time that out. Now, for some brow products, I can leave them on a minute. For some, it takes about 10 minutes. You're just going to have to kind of watch the development process and watch and see what you think is sort of your desired brow color. You will see it change along the way. And so I can see it starting to process a little bit. I'm going to let this process for about 5 minutes. I wanted to tell you also which color I chose. I chose the light brown color for my complexion. And this is processing pretty quick. It's been about 3 or 4 minutes. And that looks like it's coming out about the right color. Sometimes if I've chosen a formula that I know isn't going to work for me, it'll process in less than a minute and it's really dark already. So I know this color is going to be perfect for me. It's always going to be a little bit darker, you know, in the first few days after you color, and then it sort of fades. But this looks like it's coming out just the way I like it. And we'll just give that a few more minutes. So while we're letting this process, why don't we talk about what we're going to do about shaping up my brow after this and how I go about doing that. I tend to shape it by coloring in the brow first. That kind of gives me a guide. And also when you're shaping your brow or tweezing the few stray hairs that you have, you want to think about the fact that this hair took about 9 months to grow. So conservative tweezing is always better. Don't overdo it. If you sort of feel the impulse to overdo it, then you might just want to go see a brow specialist, especially if your brows are completely out of shape and they just really need sort of an objective opinion about the shape that might work best for you. I'm going to show you 2 techniques about how I look about shape. 2 techniques about how I look at brow shape. One is a more arched look and one is a more sort of boy brow, straight brow, which I think is a little bit more flattering on me, and how I go about selecting which hairs to remove and which hairs to leave. So I'm going to get this. It's been about 5 minutes, so I'm going to take off this with my damp sponge, and just like that, it comes right off. And as I said, it's going to be a little bit darker the first couple days, but this fades really quickly. It's going to look beautiful. And it's just the right color for me. And again, if you have sensitive skin, make sure that you find a formula that is sort of geared to more sensitive skin. I have never used this product, but there is a Godfrey product that does not have ammonia or hydrogen peroxide. So if you have sensitive skin, this might not be the right formula for you. So always consider that before you start doing any kind of a brow tint formulation. Think about, you know, your skin sensitivity and the colorant, what's going to look good for you. And so I just love this color. It's a little bit on the ruddy side and reddish side, which I love, but not too dark. It's going to be beautiful when we get this brow shape put into place. So let me grab my brow pencil and I'll show you how I mark out what areas to tweeze and what hairs to leave. So there are really 2 ways that I like to go about planning a shape out for my brow. and one is a more arched brow look that I probably won't be doing today, but we can look at it. And another is a flatter, sort of just gentle gradient of an arch, just clearing up under the brow bone. So let's walk through how I do this. So the first step is to mark the center, and I do a 1 dot. Right up the nostril, straight up, just line it up against your nostril and place a dot. And you can see that right there. The second thing I do is go through the iris and place the brow spot. So 1 dot, 2 dot. The third one is all the way up to the tail, and you just line it up against your nose once again, and that's the end of where your tail should be. So I like to take a little straight line right here, like a 1/4 inch, and go straight up just to give me a guide. So this first look is an arched look where you can do a straight line from dot, your center dot, to your brow, your arch dot, and you just send the line straight up through the brow to the dot. And in essence, you're kind of making an X. And I'm going to exaggerate it here a bit. And the second line goes from here to your tail. And then anything outside this X, you're going to clean up. So right in here, you're going to clean up that area. And then the other way I do it is I take my pencil, put a dot. This is my preferred way on the center. Mark out my arch, and then mark out my tail. And I have a pretty good shape just because I've been kind of keeping up on it. There's a little thickness under here. And the other way is I take my finger and feel where close my eye and kind of feel where my brow bone is. And I line out in dots. Oh, I lost a little bit. I'm gonna have to crank this up a bit. I line out in dots kind of where that brow bone is, and it's pretty close to that. I need to clean up a little bit under here, and then I just shade it in. And that way I've shaded in where I don't want to remove the hair. So I'm only going to clean up under here. And should I go for a more arched approach, I'm only going to clean up under this arch. So let's grab our tweezers and get cleaning. I think I'm going to go with the more rounded approach. I've always kind of used this particular shape. It's just something I prefer, kind of more of the boy brow look as opposed to the arch look. So I'm going to clean this off, and then I'm going to start taking out the little hairs under here where I've marked out, and then I'll do the same on this side. So as you see, I've drawn in my guides. They're quite heavy. I've used a liner that's much heavier than I would normally use for any type of makeup look or brow look, but it's outlined the shape of my brow, the brow shape that I really want, and it'll help me from going too far in and taking off unwanted hairs. And it also is showing me where maybe I need to put a little bit more lattice right here in this spot where it's kind of sparse. And so I just lift my brow gently and just follow very carefully under the brow line that I drew. And it's just a really easy way to avoid sort of overdoing it. And just being very gentle with the skin. So I didn't have very much cleanup on the top at all. I don't really have too many strays. A few on the side here, right below my guide. A few on this side, just below my guide. Okay, so that's the shape done. I really like the way that turned out. Of course, I always have my little blank spot right here. That's just always the case for me. And a little bit of sparseness on this brow, but that's typical for me. Nothing I could do about that, except fill it in with a little bit of brow pencil. So now for trimming. I have a little pair of curved shears that I use for trimming my brows. So catching any stray ones, you just brush up and take your curved scissor right along your arch. And you can brush them just back into place. Again, just brushing up, straight up, and running your scissors just along the top of your brow bone. Just getting those really long ones. And these curved scissors really help because it just helps following. One hand is always harder to do. Not quite ambidextrous, but I've gotten, with a little bit of practice, pretty good at just following along the brow bone. Okay, so here's the final look. I did take my brow pencil and fill in a sparse spot here and here, but other than that, I did nothing else than what I showed you on this video. I would be very comfortable walking out the door after I throw a little sunscreen and do my hair without any additional eye makeup at all. I think this sort of just makes my eyes pop, and it's something I enjoy doing. Like I said, I hope this video gave you the confidence to try this if this is something you're interested in. I'll show you the final look after I kind of get myself dressed and organized for the day. But I just really appreciate the time that you spend with me. I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope this gave you confidence to try something new, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll be right back with the final finished look. So here's the final look. They're a little bit darker today, but they will lighten up over the next few weeks. But I'm really pleased with how the Just for Men's formula turned out. I feel like I have a bit of a pep in my step today. And the only addition I did was using my brow pencil to fill in the one little pothole here and close in a little gap here. Otherwise, this is just how the Just for Men's formula turned out. I'm really pleased. I've used other tints before. They have not come out this nicely. Of course, they're a little on the dark side today, but they'll fade as I wash my face and take my showers over the next 2 weeks. Definitely Just for Men isn't just for men. I love this result. I've used other tints, and I'm really pleased with this one. And if you were wanting to try to learn how to tint, shape, and grow your brows, I hope today's video was helpful. If you wanted to try this, I think you should give it a try. If it's outside your comfort zone, you know, that's okay too. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Again, the Just for Men formula is not a dedicated brow tinting formula. In fact, they recommend not to use it for brows. But if you're comfortable with that, then I really highly recommend it. If you're not, or if you have sensitive skin and this might be too harsh of a formula for you, I will link another formula that does not have hydrogen peroxide or ammonia down below, and that might work better for you. But I'm really pleased with the results, and I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about how I grow, tint, and trim my lashes, grow, tint, and trim my brows today. And if you enjoyed this video, so glad you were here with me. Go ahead and subscribe, like, and click the notification bell and tag a friend. And as always, have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining me. Bye.